Bird! Get him! Yeah! Ron Babe was right.
I'm feeling spry. Hey everybody, it's Ron Bain with the Hunting Dog Podcast. It is the 19th of December. You don't have any time left for shopping. And I know if you procrastinate like me, and believe me, my picture's in a dictionary next to the word procrastinate. I can't spell it, but I could flip through the dictionary into P's and I'd see my picture. Like, that's how you spell it. If you're a procrastinator, there's a couple things you could do that you could still get done. The rest of them, though, what I would do, all of my sponsor stuff would make great presents. From Pike Gear to Onyx, CZ USA, Boss Shot Shells, Waltons, Purina, Gunner Kennels, Garmin, Canine Athlete, W Hunting Supply, Decked Drawer Systems. You're probably not going to get that one in time for Christmas. It's a big shipping ticket there. That's going to come LTL. And for those of you who don't know nothing in the trucking business, LTL, less than trailer load, but it's still coming on a semi. So pay attention to that. Shooting Sportsman Magazine and Upland Institute, which is, yes, that's mine, but it's also my own spot. I guess I'm my own sponsor. But there's two things you could do. I guess technically three. You could get your better half an Onyx subscription and just put it in a gift card and say, I was thinking of you. Okay? That's a little something for you procrastinators. You could order any of the stuff from my sponsors. I can't tell you what the shipping's going to be 4 days before Christmas. You could give your better half a Patreon patron subscription. That's right. That's what Lori got for Christmas. And wait till you come on the Zoom room with this girl. She's trouble. Anyway, see, that was a great idea. She got that. That was her Christmas present from her husband. Yeah. Her husband's name is Lori's husband. That's who Lori is. Anyway, that's a good idea. Or if you bare your soul and go to the contact page of the Upland Institute and say, like, you know what? I do got to get something for my partner. I do got to get something for my husband. I got to get something for my wife. I got to get something for my dad. A lot of people have bought this for their dad. The Upland Institute, that's instant. You buy it, you own it, you start watching it. You could spend Christmas morning just watching the Upland Institute. And if you go to the contact page and you're like, okay, I didn't do the cyber sale. Ron, I'm bearing my soul. Please give me a Jingle Bell discount before December 25th. I will keep my computer on. I will see the contact page come up, and I will take care of you just because you're a procrastinator. Now that's the gift that keeps on giving. All right, well, that's it. This episode was Brent, Pike, and Nick from Nick's Wild Ride, Nick Hoffman. He was on a couple years ago. He's got a little Cocker Spaniel that he happens to love like I love mine. And they went up to Newfoundland, I guess it was, chasing moose in Ptarmigan. They even flew with dogs in a crate, and oh my God, damn near got sequestered to stay in Canada because of the ticket agent with the dog crates and the paperwork. What a mess. Anyway, great episode. I hope you all have a great Christmas coming up with family, friends. If you get out there and hunt, great. I'm not going to be hunting on Christmas Day. I'm going to be with all my kids, well, 2 out of 3 of my kids and my grandkids on Christmas Day, eating waffles and sausages and open up way too many presents. Yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing. But I hope you're doing whatever you love the most. Have a great holiday. Talk to you next week. All right, everybody, it's Ron Bain with the Hunting Dog Podcast. I'm on the phone with Nick Hoffman, who hasn't been on the podcast for a couple of years, from Nick's Wild Ride, and Brent Pike from Pike Gear. What amazing. Is it coincidental that you ended up naming the company?
I think I told you that before. I mean, we literally, I spent like $15,000 with idiot lawyers trying to come up with names for clothing that were not already taken. It was a disaster.
I actually had somebody write me and said, Did Brent make up that name, or did he change his name or change the spelling of his name? He changed the spelling of his name, basically.
Yeah, we tried.
It was like coming over to Ellis Island. They got rid of the I, they put the Y in there.
That's about it. I mean, it was a disaster, but that's another story for a couple of beers over a campfire.
Yeah.
Let me bitch about lawyers.
Yeah.
It wasn't Ptarmigan. It was somebody else that he's at least fair with his pricing.
Yeah, I don't think I paid him yet. Anyway, Nick, how's things going? Where are you at right now today?
Hey guys, I'm at home in Nashville. Actually, rare this time of year. You know, everybody's traveling and hunting and filming and doing all sorts of stuff, and I'm home for a couple of days, which is really nice. I was actually supposed to be going to Germany on Monday to film a traditional driven hunt in Germany, dogs and all, and
Wow.
And it got canceled because of this damn new variant.
Ugh.
So it's the second year in a row that hunt's been canceled because of Corona. So I'm really frustrated and I'm really disappointed because I was really looking forward to that. You know what I mean?
Well,
but the upside is I get to be home, you know?
Well, yeah, the upside.
Upside for you, maybe not so much for your wife.
Exactly.
She was looking forward to having you be gone.
You laugh, but it's funny because it's true. It's like, you know, she has to rearrange plans with her boyfriend. So
Exactly. You know, Rusty's joke is he called home the other day, or the phone rang the other day, and he picked it up, and all he heard was a voice saying, "Is the coast clear?" He says, "I don't know. I'm not the Coast Guard. Why are you asking me if the coast is clear?" So Nick, let's break into this. Right, what the trip that you and Brent went on? Where did that start from? Tell everybody about it a little bit, and then we'll get.
Well, gosh, it started by Brent calling me up one day and saying, "Hey, I know a guy who's got an outfit in Newfoundland," and he said, "Let me see if you'd be interested in this." Like as if I wouldn't be interested in this. You know what I mean? He said, what we do is we fly in a helicopter and then we hunt moose. And then if we get a moose, then we'll get dropped off in a helicopter up on the top of the mountain and go hunting for mountain ptarmigan.
Oh,
I don't know if you'd be interested in something like that, but that's what we're going to do.
You found this?
Yeah.
You found
it. And
it.
He goes, would you be into that? I go, is a frog's ass watertight? Of course I'm interested in that. Where do I sign up? You know, so that's exactly how it started. And I honestly, you know, if you know Brent at all, it's like, I figured, shit, I'll never hear from him again. And that'll never happen. You know what I mean? And instead, by God, a week later, I got a call and another call. And next thing you know, we're booking flights. And suddenly we find ourselves with literally a band of idiots in Newfoundland and their dogs. You know what I mean? And that's basically how it, and myself included, I count myself among the idiots. It was
right. You and Brent are head idiots on the pack.
We were the head. Actually, it was kind of nice for me because I wasn't the head idiot. I was just kind of like along for the ride, and I loved it. It was awesome. So here we find ourselves in Newfoundland in helicopters with dogs. It was awesome.
This is like a real newbie. I've never been in Newfoundland. Well, I've been in New Brunswick. I've never been to Newfoundland. What is it like? I mean, just in general, what does it look like?
It's like hell. I mean, it's beautiful, but I mean, it was the most difficult walking I've ever done in my entire life. I mean, they say that it's an island that's built of rock, but the rock is like, it's 90% rock and 10% water.
Mm-hmm.
So there's literally, you're walking in these mountains and it's all this spongy stuff with rock underneath it. And you're never stepping on a flat piece so you can put your whole foot down. And there's like just puddles of water in like little lakes it's just bizarre. So you're constantly like walking around stuff. And there's, it looks kind of like Alaskan tundra, but it's,
but it's not.
But it's not. It's up on a mountain. It's bizarre. I don't know how else to explain. I mean, Nick's traveled a lot more than I have. I mean, you fly through some areas in the helicopter and it literally would look like what you would think Mars would look like.
Really?
I mean, just barren rock. Somebody up there told me, said this is like one of 2 or 3 spots on Earth where actually the Earth's core is actually exposed. It's come through to the surface.
So it's like a hemorrhoid of the planet.
That's one way to put it, I guess.
Jesus.
Man, I mean, once you get the sand out of your vagina there, you can, you'll be okay. I promise. It's, I thought it was, it is, he's right. It's tough country to walk. I mean, it was, especially if you're trying to upland hunt. I mean, man, you'd look over there and be like, that looks birdie over there. But to get there, it brings into what we call in the big game hunting side of things, we call it the Alaska factor, right? So it's like, yeah, that looks like it's close, but it's going to take us, if you think it's going to take you 10 minutes to get there, it's going to take you 45 minutes,
Right.
because, and you're going to end up with cuts all over your arms and everything when you're done. So
What kind of birds, like willows and stuff, or what is
They
it?
have this stuff, it's called tuck. And remember that ground hemlock on High Island that we hunted through?
Yeah.
That was like walking on a golf course compared to this tuck stuff.
Really? Jesus.
I mean, it's just like this low growing conifer stuff.
It's impenetrable. Literally,
Yeah.
like you can't get through it in certain
And
spots.
some
It's
of
like
it,
a wall.
You're like a couple feet off the ground walking on the branches underneath like a crevasse. It's just, it was really difficult to walk through that stuff, I mean,
It was hard on the dogs too, like when we'd be out there, especially these guys hunted a couple days before I did, because I was out moose hunting. And so when I got my moose and I joined these guys on the bird side of things, these poor dogs, I mean, after day or three of this, their feet were raw, and it was
whose dogs? What did you guys have for dog power?
So I brought my puppy, Penny, the pointer. I brought her up there, and then my setter, Libby.
Yeah.
And then the guide had a short hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was
that was a whole nother deal. just the story of Brett getting these things through the airport there and back is a whole thing unto itself. You know what I mean?
Did you fly out of Grand Rapids?
No, we drove to Toronto. And
Okay.
getting the dogs across the border was super easy. I mean, I had all the health certificates. They didn't even ask for any of that stuff. It's just like, all right, they checked our guns and we were off to the races.
And you did that because you didn't want to have the possibility of your dog getting stuck in transit, like on a layover, right?
Right. That's exactly why we did it.
So you could do a direct flight to Toronto?
To Newfoundland, yes. Yeah.
What town has Newfoundland got? I mean, does it have a
flew in
town?
a place called Deer Lake, which is, the airport's the size of Muskegon's airport. I mean,
Wow.
It's like a little tiny, 2-terminal airport.
Yeah.
Like the lady that checked us in was the same lady that let us on the airplane.
Right. And then she'll make your tickets and she unloads the baggage later on.
Pretty much, yeah.
Takes off her
She made
TS.
my life miserable for about 2 hours because she wasn't going to let my dogs on the airplane
Really?
because they weren't quote unquote checked in. And I'm like, luckily I had Nick, who's, traveled the world, and he's like, just stay calm, just do as she says, and this will work out. Because I was starting to get a little freaked out. Like, I'm gonna have to get a freaking car and drive to the port, take a damn boat across, to over to the mainland, then drive. I'm like, I'm not leaving my dogs here, obviously.
It really was. He's talking about on the way home, right? On the way home, this lady was literally, it was like straight out of a Saturday Night Live skit. I mean, this woman, she had the power to do it,
Right.
but just wouldn't. Literally, for whatever reason, we caught her on a bad day. I mean, you see those memes about Karens, you know what I mean? Like this woman was Queen Karen. I mean, like just, and it was really unbelievable because she had no empathy for the fact that this guy's traveling with 2 dogs in crates.
Right.
And it was very easy for her to go, yeah, let the dogs on the plane. She just basically told him to screw off,
What was there like a reason? Like she said, they weren't checked in. What
she claims there's a protocol for Air Canada that you have to check your dogs in 48 hours before a flight.
But you didn't have to do that on the way there.
But I didn't have to do that on the way there.
Same airline.
Yeah. And Nick and I pull up our computer, and he's scrolling through pages. I'm scrolling through. I'm like, there is zero protocol on their computer, on their website whatsoever that says that this is in fact true, that you have to check these dogs in. I mean, literally nothing on it.
This sounds like a rehearsed bit. It does.
It does. And then at the resolution of it all was exactly like I was saying before. She had the power to do it. And then eventually she just put us all on ice and made Brett's, he lost years of his life in stress and got some ulcers and all that stuff. And then magically she's like, okay, you're good. Come on, put the dogs on the plane.
It was just
after like an hour of
when
hell.
She made me call this 1-800 number. And I called the number that says your wait time is between 1.5 and 2 hours. And we got, so the airport terminal, opened up at, I don't know, let's say 5:30 is when it opened up. We got there at 5:15. So we got there plenty, because I knew we had dogs, guns, all this other stuff. And it's going to be, a bit of a to-do.
If you needed 2 hours, you give yourself 3.5.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it was just, oh my God, she was just, and then after she did it, she was like super, and I never lost my cool with her. And I was getting close, and Nick's, he's, hey, just relax.
I was like a therapist. I really was. I was like, so Brett, how is this making you feel? How do you feel right now?
But I'm glad
I understand that you're frustrated, but let's look at the big picture here.
It was one of those trips that I would recommend people do, but I have no desire to do it again from the Ptarmigan side of things. I mean, it was fun. I mean, the getting there, I mean, it was actually, so we drove to Toronto, flew from Toronto to this little town of Deer Lake, and then we had to take a shuttle bus, like, I don't know, what was it, Nick, an hour?
Something like that,
to this other little town that we stayed the night in. And the next morning we had to go to the little store to get some beer and stuff like that for Nick.
Can I stop you there for a second?
Sure.
He used the word some, and let's dive a little deeper there. I'm going to play therapist here, let's talk about this for a second. Okay. Some, by the way, let's talk about the cast of characters. We have like Brett and Todd, and we had Bill and that's.
And Dave, the cameraman.
And Dave. So four guys and me and my camera guy. So I go over we stop to get licenses. I go to get hunting licenses. These guys go to the grocery store / liquor store. They come out with half of the liquor store in 2 carts. Their bill had to have been close to a $800 worth of
which is $1 million Canadian
whiskey and beer. I was like, how is it possible that these guys are going to drink all of this? We ran out of booze one day. We had 1 day left, and we were almost out of booze. I've never seen anything like it, and I grew up and I consider myself a bit of a pro.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I got nothing on the Pike guys. Nothing. Zero. Unbelievable.
Well, my cousin Billy is like a professional.
Okay, because you can drink, but you're not that hard. You're not that hardcore. I've been with you hunting, and you're like, I'll have a beer, and I'll have sometimes 3.
Yeah.
But that almost takes one guy off the table.
Well, Todd and my cousin Bill are both like professionose,
like higher grade than me.
Oh yeah.
and then, but I'll be honest with you. For one beer Brett over there, he tried to keep up. And so did I. I'm not. We all. Todd and Bill set the bar pretty high, and we all just tried to hang on the train.
Because you couldn't start hunting till what, 10:30? Because So let's take a step. So we get there, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna hunt around the cabin. I can walk up to the mountain. It's only 2,000 foot vertical. There's it can't be that hard to get. Impossible. You literally, I mean, you cannot get to the top of the mountain without a helicopter. Because
Jesus.
It's just,
or an Argo, and we were having to do that moose hunt. It was brutal, but to your end, I mean, it gets dark early and pretty early, and we don't start hunting until later in the day. And so the vibe in camp was jolly, to say the least. And we had a good time.
Even the Canadians said, oh boy, you guys can drink a lot, eh? They were impressed.
Michigan and the Michigander livers were represented very, very well. Let's just say that.
Did he get any good beer for you at the store? Because you like a little better beer than I do.
I do, but no, I was drinking Molson the entire time.
Yeah, wet in Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could drink Molson. I can't drink brown water, but these guys drink brown water to boot on top of beer.
We were mostly drinking rum.
Yeah, a lot of rum, old fashions. I mean, I'm sorry to sidebar here and get on it, but I want to paint the perfect picture for everybody that's listening. I mean, and it involves a lot of brown liquor. It does.
So the few minutes that you got to hunt actually a day.
No, we hunted every day from probably noon to 4.
No, all right.
And it was nonstop. I mean, it was, it wasn't just, let's hunt here for half an hour. It's not like grouse hunting where you
get in your car and go somewhere.
Yeah, I mean,
you just keep trekking.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, every once in a while we'd have the helicopter pick us up and bring us to another spot. Usually it's 2 spots.
You know, nobody ever said that on this show. Once in a while we'd have the helicopter come and pick us up.
It sounds a lot cool. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's really cool flying into these remote areas. You're seeing caribou running around and moose running around. And I didn't see any bear. Did you see any bear, Nick?
No, we never saw any bear. You know, but it's funny because these guys got, like you're talking about, they start late. I'm up before dawn to moose hunt. So like, no matter how much, you know, they got infinitely more sleep than I did. So by day 4, I was tired. You know what I mean? Can't keep up with these boys, and that's hard for me to admit, but it was true.
He's a rock star, you know.
Well, yeah, kind of country rock star. Did Nick? Did you bring a musical instrument to serenade the guys at night or anything?
No, and that was a big. We realized that's the thing. You never know what a camp's going to be like, right? You know how it is. You show up with a group of people, and even though I know most of these guys, you just don't know what the camp's going to be like, and it's a pain in the ass to travel with a gun and a guitar and all this different stuff. But usually I bring one, and this time around I didn't. And it was a major omission because I think having the guitar in camp would have been a big addition to our
especially
rum
if
drinking
you actually
nights.
have a musician.
Yeah,
right. Not just
play it.
Not the guy that could just do.
Strum it.
Yeah. So if we ever do it again, I'll make sure that I've got it with me. But I screwed up there.
Nick, you said that trip to Germany got put off, so I don't mind. I can wait till next year for Germany, and we'll get you some lessons on what's that old squeeze box? You know,
the squeeze box, the accordion.
Accordion. You need to get some accordion lessons so you can play in Germany.
And a lederhosen. I got to be wearing a lederhosen. It's going to be great.
I'm wearing them right now.
Yeah, I know you are, buddy.
All right, I want to get into the moose, but I want to get into the bird. So, you know, you've hunted around the country all over the place. Nick, you've hunted all over. What did you get the bird work, the dog work? Everybody wants to know that kind of stuff. Or was it like foreign enough to the dog? What was the adjustment there? Or really was there one?
The dogs did great. I mean, I had some tremendous dog work from my setter. The first day we hunted, I didn't really know what to expect. I mean, I've had buddies say, hey, if you run out of shotgun shells, the good thing is with the ptarmigan, just keep a full water bottle because you can walk up to them and throw them a water bottle at them and kill them.
Right.
And so I really didn't know what to expect. And, the first day we're out there, I mean, these birds were getting out 30, 40 yards wild in front of us. I'm like, holy cow, these things are pretty sporty. They're in some pretty thick cover. And, and it was kind of like hunting sharp tails. So the next day I'm going to give my setter the break. I mean, she really ran hard today. So I'll bring my puppy out. She's a 14-month-old.
Yeah.
And she points pretty well, but she's not quite to the point where she can see birds in the ground without ripping them.
Oops.
And so the next day we go out and they were kind of like the traditional ptarmigan where they're out like in this rock area, and the puppy saw him, and boy, she had a good old time. And she likes to bark when she chases, so she's chasing.
So you could have nicknamed her Brunswick, right?
Oh yeah.
She just went for the 10-pin every time.
Absolutely. And she had a good old time. And
then of course you probably still shot some birds because you wanted to.
Oh yeah.
It's like
I'm not in the camp that believes that shooting bump birds over young dogs is going to ruin them. I've done it over all my dogs, and they turn out to be just.
You always end up pointing eventually. Yes. Yeah. It's a different story.
For Justin's
right. That's why you go to Justin all the time.
Exactly.
But you're going to go to Justin and say, I don't know. All of a sudden, she just started taking birds out. You're going to leave out the fact that you had these half-white birds sitting up there like 10 bowling pins.
Well, and they run around. I mean, it's not like they don't just stand there. I mean, they run around and stuff like that. They just don't want to flush a lot of times,
Yeah.
They run around, and you gotta, so she got them up. It'd have been good to have Taffy there.
There you go. What was the terrain like?
The rock ptarmigan are literally like the top of this table. I mean, just kind of out in the middle of these rock outcroppings and stuff like that. And the willow ptarmigan, we're down in that tuck and willow and kind of grass open areas and stuff like that. I mean, you could still, a lot of times, you'd see the dog on point, you'd see the bird out in front of the dog. You know? I mean, there was definitely some temptation. That was nice to have my older dog, the setter, there, because she's
not gonna move on the bird.
I think we got some pretty good video of her pointing some birds out in front.
I think that's one of the interesting things about those birds is that and the way that you hunt them there, oftentimes, like he said, they're holding, the birds are quote unquote holding, but they're in a visible place to us, but they're holding still because the cover is so thick that the bird has positioned themselves in a place where they can flush if they need to, because otherwise, if they're down tucked into this cover, there's no way they're going to fly up because it's too thick through that tuck. So they position themselves on the very, very edge of this cover, oftentimes facing into the wind, so that they can flush if they need to. But they'll, man, you almost, like he said, it felt almost like game farm birds at times. You almost had to kick them to get them to move, because they don't really.
For a wild bird.
Yeah, it was really strange.
But it would be like rough grouse in Canada sometimes.
Probably.
I've had one where I've literally, like, come on, you got to fly. And it's like, no, I just want to run.
Yeah, do the thing. Will you do the thing, please, for goodness sakes?
And then I just step back and shoot.
Yep.
You know, I mean, if they're going to act like rabbits, treat them like rabbits.
Live like a squirrel, die like a squirrel, right?
So, I mean, not exact numbers, but is there a limit, like a daily limit on them? I've heard like Alaska's like a ridiculous amount back in the day.
12 or 15 a day?
I thought 12 is the number that came to my head.
I mean, I had no desire to shoot that many. I would shoot. I think one day I shot 8.
Yeah.
And even that felt like,
enough.
That was enough.
Right.
And we ate all of them right there. I mean, that was kind of the surprising thing to me, because all the newfies like, some things are terrible. You don't want to eat those damn things. And
that's what Danny told me. He said, don't expect really good table fare out of them.
I mean,
well, what did you guys do with them?
Well, I just took they had some seasoned salt there, some salt and pepper, garlic powder. I just salted them in that. I just put a little bit of bacon on them just to kind of keep them from getting too dried out. And I threw them on a smoker for 20 minutes. So I put a little smoke on them, took them off, turned the heat up on the smoker, threw them on there, finished them kind of at a medium rare.
Yeah.
I thought they were delicious. Nick, you liked them. I mean, they were.
And the ones we wrapped in bacon were incredible too.
Yeah.
I think part of that too is just like anything. We hung them it was cold enough outside. We hung them for a couple of days and let them do their thing, and it was awesome. I loved it.
Yeah.
They
were
heavy,
delicious.
Dark, purplish meat?
Very dark
Yep.
meat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like,
so more like a sharp tail?
Even darker than sharp tail, I thought.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I like sharp tail too. I mean,
almost woodcock dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe even dark. I mean, they were like duck dark. I mean, they were dark.
Really?
Yep.
So,
they were. I was going to say that it looked like duck meat to me. That's what it looked like a dark duck meat.
Yeah.
I have never not liked a bird. Like, I don't care what, somebody will say, I'll bet you I would have loved them ptarmigan.
I bet you would.
Because
I guarantee you would.
I like a strong meat.
Yeah.
It's the person who's only eaten a grouse or a pheasant because like, ew.
Yeah.
There's flavor.
Yeah.
We left the crust on your sandwich.
Well, they
kid.
live on all these, like, especially that time of year, what do they call them? Partridge berries or something like that. I don't know what the hell.
Yep.
They call them partridge berries, and there's a bunch of wild blueberries. So they're eating all that berries and stuff like that. So I thought the meat was kind of sweet, and it had really good flavor to me. It wasn't at all livery or anything like that.
Right.
It was good.
Right.
And they're eating all that sage and all that kind of stuff out there, and like there's some natural herbs that they're around. I mean, I thought it was mild. Honestly,
Yeah,
it didn't strike me as pungent at all. I really liked the meat. I was surprised. Everybody was surprised. But it just goes to show preparation's everything. I mean, those newfies, they don't take the time to prepare the meat the way that you did, Brent. And I mean, that's the key. I mean, you got to, do the right things to it when you're,
or at least do it,
it.
what works for you.
Yeah.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
You didn't try doing anything fancy like plucking or nothing like
I'm
that.
too late. I always have illusions of grandeur. I'm going to pluck that bird and we're going to bake it and roast it.
I've got a pheasant in the truck right now. I'm like, I'm plucking this thing.
It was.
I think I'm going to pluck
It came down to, do I make myself another rum old fashioned, or I pluck these birds? And the rum old fashioned one every time.
Every time. Every time.
Every single time.
So Nick, now you mentioned earlier, I don't know if it was before we hit record or not, you've been wanting to get a moose, or you've been hunting moose. What was the backstory before this moose trip?
Well, the moose has been, I'm really lucky. I mean, I'm the guy who's running around making a living hunting exotic game and big game all over the damn world. So, it's like I'm living everybody's dream, right? And for the most part, I have, knock on wood, I have traditionally had, over the course of filming almost 7 seasons of Nick's Wild Ride now, 70 plus adventures all over the world. Right. So, wow. I mean, I've done a lot of big game hunting. The moose has been almost comically my bad luck charm. I have been on three or four moose hunts that have all panned out, not just like they've all been total disasters. So, and so this was kind of almost, I went into it going, oh, another moose hunt, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
and on top of that, I don't keep track of there's all these slams and awards and all sorts of stuff that you can accumulate. I don't really keep track of that stuff. I don't really score my animals and I don't register them or anything like that. But there is this one thing that I always thought was a kind of a cool thing. It's called the Super 10. And it's like it's kind of a who's who of the, not people wise, but it's a moose and different kinds of deer and elk and a buffalo and all these 10 animals that represent the core of the North American big game. The moose was the linchpin for me to get my quote unquote Super 10. So yeah. It was important to me, you know what I mean? And I usually don't care too much about that, but I cared about the Super 10. So anyway, so this hunt was going to hopefully get me the Super 10 and hopefully break my bad luck spell. And it eventually did. And it was a hunt of a lifetime. I mean, it was amazing. I loved it.
Was it a helicopter ride in and out, or what did you just start hiking through the mountains where, I'm trying to picture moose in Ptarmigan, I can only picture like one part of Alaska, I don't know, but without the rocks,
Well, the interesting thing for the moose hunting here compared to almost anywhere else, and we didn't utilize this every day, but you can fly and hunt on the same day there, which mm-hmm. is a really interesting and in some cases controversial stance. But the reason you can do it there is because even if you got dropped off basically on top of a moose, obviously that moose is going to run off. And it's so thick there that there's zero chance you're going to get on that moose. Zero.
Right.
Like if you come in a helicopter and scare that moose off, you'll never see that moose again. So I think it's a good example in a way of the local regulations being reflective of the hunting conditions, right? In Alaska, if you get dropped off you could theoretically hunt an animal you just saw that day, you know what I mean? But over here, it's a totally different kind of deal. You know what I mean? So you can get dropped off and hunt both for the birds and the moose that day. In some cases, we would just walk from the camp in the morning, down the rivers. We took a boat a couple of days. We took an Argo one day. And then a couple of days only one day we got dropped off. No, 2 days we got dropped off in the helicopter.
Yeah.
And
I still like the helicopter part of this.
It was really cool, man. I felt like James Bond,
Right.
I felt like I was getting dropped off for a super secret spy mission in Newfoundland,
Yeah, you got to duck under the plane and the helicopter thing's going. You're like, all right.
Absolutely.
Well, this helicopter pilot was a former Canadian, was it Coast Guard or Air Force or something like that?
He was Coast Guard.
Coast Guard pilot.
Yep.
So he was a good pilot.
Yeah.
And, we'd get going over these the mountains, you're 30, 50 feet off the ground. All of a sudden, boom, you go over this cliff and you're 2,000 feet above ground. And he he took us on some good rides too. I mean, some fun stuff for,
a wild ride.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's just like, boom, you just drop down to these
I don't know. What did the dogs do in a helicopter?
They just sat in my lap.
Did they?
Yeah, they loved it.
Oh, they figured that out really quick. They by the end of the week, they were pros. You know what I mean? Yeah. They hopped in and just whatever, curled up and done with it. No big deal.
When we flew out of Charlevoix to Beaver Island for that show, I remember whose dog's lab? God dang it.
Was it Tubies or yours?
Tubies and who's got the brown lab?
Oh, Veldman.
Yeah, Veldman. Those two dogs were shaking like whores in church.
Yeah.
I mean, they were in Bravo. I got a video of him just looking out the window going, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I didn't like the plane ride. Bravo didn't care. And their two dogs, they did everything besides shit the plane.
Yeah.
But what did they do first? I mean, because I can't imagine a dog going up in a helicopter not being like, oh, or they were fine. I mean, really?
my dogs have flown on a lot of airplanes, from Beaver Island and things like that.
The helicopter's different. It feels like an elevator.
Yeah. It didn't bother. I mean,
well, what always surprises me about that is the noise. So I'm a pilot, right? And I've got a little plane, a little single engine plane, and it's loud. I mean, you have a headset on, so you're used to that. But for a dog, I mean, it's loud in there, really loud. And I think that's one of the most disconcerting things whenever I've taken my dogs for the first time in my plane is the noise is what gets them. You know what I mean? It's like, it's disconcerting loud. And I've tried those pup muffs and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And my cocker will wear them, but my lab, he won't wear those pup muffs.
Well, that's because the cocker will do anything to please you.
Yeah.
Cockers
actually
are the best.
Well, here's what I did with that. And this was what the company suggested. You take them in the plane without the things on, and you get somebody to sit back there with them, and it's really loud. So you're flying and it's really loud. You put them on while the flight's going on. Yeah. So that they experience some relief. And I didn't do that with my lab. So he immediately figured out he didn't like that. But the cocker, we did that, and he's like, oh yeah, these things are great. You know.
Doggy muffs. I can't believe doggy muffs.
Yeah. I'll send you a picture of him with the dog muffs on. It's pretty ridiculous. His ears are hanging out the bottom of it. You know, like they're flopping.
Send me that picture so I can put it on Instagram for this episode.
I'll do it.
Yeah. So go back to moose. So I mean, I've shot a couple of big game animals in my life. So I don't have like this like horn thing, or it's just like I've shot 2 caribou and 2 deer in my life. So I don't have any target panic because I'm not like, oh my God, this is the moose. This is, it's an 8-point, you know, it's just like, oh, okay. Somebody took me hunting. It's just kind of mechanical to me. Do you get, when you see something like a moose, do you get target panic or?
I think that it's always it always surprises me the times I get worked up and the times that I don't, and there's no rhyme or rhythm to it. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I'm sorry, the dogs are going to go nuts here. Hey, quit.
I could get mine to chime in.
If you would have said anything, people just thought they were Ron's dogs.
Hey, just pause 1 second there. Let me figure out what's going on here. I'm just gonna... Hey, quit.
Leave that out. We're taking a short break while Nick yells at his dogs.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, they're barking at nothing too. That's the thing. They're out there barking at absolutely nothing. Sorry, what was I saying?
Target panic. So what was it like?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like I would think sure a moose would kind of even give, I don't mean like I couldn't get target panic. It's just like, I'd be like, oh shit. It's like an alien almost, you know, you just don't see moose, right?
It's so big. Like you can't even begin to imagine how big a moose is until you actually have one. And I shot mine at like 80 yards. So it's right there. But when you walk up next to it and you're there next to it, it's by far, I mean, the biggest thing I've ever been next to. Yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's next to an eland in Africa. That's the only thing that's bigger. It's unbelievable. And it surprises me the times I get like super shook up and almost, you know, buck fever or whatever you want to call it. And the times that I don't, and there's no rhyme or rhythm to it. And I think what it is, it's whether or not you have time to be on ice. So if with the example of this moose, we came up onto it and it was right there and I didn't have time to think about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I didn't start shaking until afterward.
Okay.
It's, you know, and I couldn't stand hardly. I mean, my knees were knocking so hard and it was so much adrenaline because it happened so fast. The ones that really get me are the ones like when like a deer walking up. Yeah. Or a deer walking out in the field and you don't have a shot for 2 or 3 minutes, but you know that that's the one you want. That's when I start to lose it. And I, you know, like to tell you that I've somehow, the more I do this, the less, you know, of that buck fever I get, but that's the best part. If you ask me, you know what I mean? I still get worked up and I love it. I figure the second you start getting worked up is this time you should hang it up. You know what I mean?
So on your other moose hunts that didn't go good, was it weather? Was it shooting? Was it just no moose? No meese?
It was no moose, and almost in every case, it was a case of, you know, either some bad intel, the outfitter saying, "Hey, come during this time because the rut will be going on," but really it was too early for the rut,
right?
And we weren't seeing any moose. And in one case, it was just literally there were just no moose. You know what I mean? Like
just you might as well have been in Iowa. You might as well
100%.
Iowa.
Yep, absolutely.
Going after Iowa
And you
moose.
grind it out for 7 days and you kind of walk around in circles and you just feel like, what are we even doing here? Kind of thing.
I couldn't do that.
I don't know that I could either.
I get frustrated just talking about it still. You know what I mean?
Because I could feel that. Like at least bird hunting, there's something. You know, you feel like it's usually because you missed the bird that you didn't get an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
But to just go, it'd be like somebody telling you you're going fishing, and even if it was just a bobber, and for 7 days the bobber doesn't even jiggle. You're like, what are we doing here? You know?
And that, my friends, is why when it's all said and done, and you know, and I'm your age, Ron, super old. I just want to be chasing feathers with dogs, man. It's like, I love big game hunting, but you know, the pressure of it all is, you know, don't get me wrong. I'm sure I'll go on a couple big game hunts. You know, I'm going to deer hunt every year still and all that stuff. But, man, there's a different vibe in bird hunting than there is in big game hunting. And I think that's, everything's riding on one shot and one animal in a big game hunt versus even, you know, what's my buddy say, you know, a bad day in the bird woods is still a really nice walk with your dog, you know? And it's true. You know, it's a lot of pressure, man. You go all the way across the world or all the way, you know, fly somewhere for one moment, one animal. That's awesome when it works out. But when it does, it really sucks. Yeah. It really sucks.
What's coming up on this season of, I hope this is recording me really good. I hope that is, because my thing is, well, anyway, we'll find out when I go back and listen to it. Yeah. I mean, I see it moving, but I don't see it moving like yours is moving. And I don't know why that is. And that's not going to help. And that's not going to help. And, oh, well, you know, amateur hour.
Yeah. That's right.
What's coming up on this year or this season of Nick's Wild Ride? What do you got coming up on the?
Well,
what did you get accomplished?
Yeah, so the new episodes for the new season are almost done airing. So we got 2 more episodes left, and then they'll start re-airing again here really soon. So if you missed any of the episodes of the new season, it'll start over again here in about, you know, right after the first of the year. And so, and it's been one of my favorite seasons. I went to Mexico and got a desert bighorn sheep, which was incredible. I went back to Africa, and you know, did some really cool stuff in Africa. I went on a really cool quail hunt in Georgia, went on an awesome duck hunt in Mississippi. I went out to Kansas and went goose hunting out there, and deer hunt. And, you know, it's just been a lot of really cool stuff.
What made you come up, or how did you end up, like, you musician first and foremost,
right?
Or were you a hunter first and foremost?
Well, I was one of those kids that didn't grow up in a hunting family. Okay. So I was always, but you know, I'm proof that some people are wired to be hunters and some people are wired to be gatherers, because nobody in my family hunted. But I always wanted to hunt from a very, very early age. I was the kid that I didn't have anybody to go hunt with, but I was out tracking animals in the woods and shooting my BB gun. And I just always wanted to do it. So in Minnesota, you know, you can't hunt big game till you're 12. Right. So I went and got my hunter safety certificate, and I was spending all my allowance on Field and Stream magazine and hunting videos and all sorts of stuff. And my dad thought I was crazy. And then my neighbor, Jim Zawistowski, we called him Zowie. He took me hunting when I was 12 years old, opening muzzleloader, and he gave up his whole opening muzzleloader to take me hunting. And right. And that, you know, and then not too long after that, I went on my first duck hunt, and it was really honestly the ducks that got me in. The big game hunting wasn't as
you know what I mean?
Yeah. And the dogs too. It was the dog for me. I'll never forget that yellow lab, almost white lab that those guys had. And I just thought it was the coolest thing. And I didn't big game hunt again until I was, you know, in my, you know, 18, 19, 20 years old. Yeah. But I duck hunted and started pheasant hunting almost immediately. And, you know, and I've never, I mean, that was it. Dogs and birds, you know.
What about the music part?
I grew up, I have no recollection of not playing the fiddle. I grew up in family of musicians. My grandma and my grandpa had jam sessions every single Saturday night at their house. She was a piano player. He was a bass player and a violinist as well. And nobody needed an invite to the Hoffman house on Saturday. It just, people showed up, and sometimes one person showed up to play music, and sometimes 20 people showed up. And now looking back too, of course I didn't realize it then, but there were a lot of gin and tonics consumed, and there was a lot of fun that my grandparents were having as well, So, some of my earliest memories are falling asleep under my grandma's piano bench while everybody's playing music. So It was always my trajectory. I knew I was going to move to Nashville and be a singer and a fiddle player from a very early age. I used to sit in front of the mirror and spin my bow around like Roy Acuff and pretend I was on the Grand Ole Opry and pretend I was Charlie Daniels, and so it was always going to be my trajectory. And I ended up running away from home when I was 16 years old and went to Branson, Missouri. I was like, I couldn't wait to get my career started, kind of thing. And I slept on park benches and played for tips and just kind of did it like that, and ended up moving to Nashville. And
what did your parents think of that, running away from home? Because
my poor mother. You know
I
what
was
I
going
mean?
to say, that's not nice to anybody.
Yeah. My dad. There's actually an interesting story if you're interested in hearing it about why I did that. So I had a bluegrass band when I was like 16 years old. That was actually getting pretty popular in the Minnesota area, and we were working a lot. It was all kids in the bluegrass band, and we were pretty good actually. And we worked like every Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So I was missing some school, but I was getting good grades. So I would get my homework from my teachers, and they were really supportive, and I'd tell them what I was doing, and I was getting almost straight A's. I get called into the principal's office one day, and this guy, Dr. Dean Suter, he had a doctorate of physical education and made us all call him Dr. Suter, one of those guys, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Dr. Suter called me into the office, and he says, hey, you're going to have to repeat your junior year because you've missed too many days aggregate of school. It was like 10 days or whatever the number was. And I said, well, let's talk about that for a second, because I've got straight A's, and here's why I'm missing school. I'm going to be a musician. This is what I'm doing for my life. And I'm working on my craft now, and I've got a business, and I'm running this business and having a band. And he just looked me straight in the eye, and he said, son, you're never going to amount to anything as a musician. You need to give up on that dream right now. And you need to give up on that dream. And also there's nothing I can do for you. Rules are rules. And you're going to have to repeat your junior year. And on top of that, I was now not eligible for any extracurricular activities. So I couldn't play sports. I couldn't be in the band. I couldn't be in the choir. I couldn't do any of the things that I loved. And so for me, it was like a dead end, because all I wanted to do is move to Branson or Nashville and get my career started. So I was laying in bed that night, and I was like, fuck this, I'm out. And I grabbed a guitar and put some clothes in my fiddle and put some clothes in a backpack. And I had $60 in my pocket, and I thought that was enough. You know what I mean? Like I was so naive that I thought that would be enough. And I had my grandpa's credit card. He had given me his credit card to go fill his gas tank up and on his car. And so I had it in my wallet, and I used his credit card to buy a bus ticket, a Greyhound bus ticket. And then I put it in the mail, sent it back to him, and went to Branson. And
you ever give your gym teacher a big shout out, and you're like on the stage at Foxborough or something like that?
I actually did. When I got my record deal with my band, The Farm, on our first album, I thanked him in the liner notes. I said, and here's to Dr. Dean Suter, who told me I'd never amount to anything. I spent my entire life trying to prove you wrong. So you know what? And honestly, it's funny. I'm not a grudge holder. I never have been, but I'm still pissed at that guy. Because it actually turned out okay for me, but how many other kids did he do that same shit to? You know what I mean? And it goes to show, these people, they're in a position of power, and they really have a chance to shape kids' lives. And man, he just about could have just as easily sent me down a bad road, So
yeah.
you know, I hate to say it like this, but fuck that guy. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, here's the Dr. Suitor.
yeah.
Suitor. What's Nick, what's your dog situation now? You got what? I don't remember your dog's names, but you've got your lab and your English cocker.
Yep. So I've got Waylon, my black lab, and he is he's going in. He'll be 7 in March, so he's in his prime. You know what I mean? He's 6, got it figured out, walks around like he is like, you know, like he's just the big guy on campus. Struts around, just thinks he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Little 65-pound English lab. He's super cool, quirky. And honestly, I think he's a dog of a lifetime. I really do. I think that, you know, we say that about a lot of them, you know, but I think he's going to be hard to replace. And he's really cool, and I'm loving, and I know that. So I'm like trying really hard to enjoy every single minute I can with him. And then right around the time that last time you and I talked, I had just gotten a cocker. So Hank is 3, and he's a certified badass. I mean, he's so cool. And but man, what a different, just like you, it's a journey. And the cocker thing is like, it's not hard if you say it fast, I'm going to get a cocker, right? That's a whole nother journey that I didn't realize quite what I was biting off. And I've had a blast with him. He's awesome. He actually, last year I didn't get to hunt him all that much because I knew that I was going to be gone quite a bit more than I thought, doing some other big game stuff. So I actually sent him down to a trainer buddy of mine down in Thomasville, Georgia. So Hank picked up 100 birds a day for the entire season down there last year.
Which is right up a cocker's alley.
Oh, sure. He loved it. He was at a plantation, you know, where it's a combination. They do wild birds in the morning and then they go and do a bunch of put birds. And he was just, like I said, picking up literally 50 to 100 birds a day and didn't want to come home. Of course not. Looks at me. Looks at me like I go to pick him up, and he's like, "No, this run that I'm in right here. This place is pretty cool. We do the thing where we go out and do the birds every day. Right. Yeah, it's really nice." So he's awesome. And then we've got listen to this shit. My wife got a hairless rat terrier, an American hairless rat terrier, and she got it last Christmas. I may or may not have bought it for her for Christmas, but I'm gonna act like I had nothing to do with it.
God.
And we have some friends that breed these things, and they breed them. This breed is really interesting. They're actually they're hunting dogs. They're terriers, and they're used for going into barns and exterminating rats. And the reason they don't have hair is because you can't get fleas from a barn if you don't have hair. And so they're these ugly hair. They look like Siamese cats.
I'd rather have a flea collar and a dog with hair.
Exactly. And so he's the strangest dude
all day.
Yeah. And he's the strangest guy, but you know, they actually field trial these dogs, and Natalie's actually thinking about getting him into these rat hunting competitions. So
come on, you're full of shit. They do not field trial that. Seriously,
they do too. Yes, they do.
The United Kennel Club. I've been at their big event. And there's a rat course where the dogs jump over these bales of hay and try to find the rat.
And they put a rat in a tube.
Dogs killing rats.
Yeah, they put a rat in a tube. And the dogs
They put a rat in a tube with a bunch of holes in it,
and
they find the rat.
Bales, they go in between and under bales, and it was like, there it is.
Yeah.
I'm not going there, but I'd still like to see fur on the dog.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. Don't send a picture of that.
Yeah, he's the strangest dude. So his name's Harry, ironically enough.
And that's not after like Harry Chapin, because your other dogs are named after musicians.
No. So we've got Hank, Harry, and Waylon, and then we've got an old lab mix that Natalie's had for, you know, he's 15 and geriatric, and so we're also in old dog land right now too, where you know I'm picking up poop every day that he can't keep in, and so we're nursing a geriatric dog. We've got two crazy dogs that are little tiny, I mean, terrorists literally, and we've got my sweet lab. You know, you can tell who's my favorite.
I can see that. Yeah. Look, I keep doing that with my granddaughter. I keep saying stuff about her, and Sue's like, "You like her better than the other ones." I'm like, "She likes me better." I mean, what are you gonna do? Right. I mean, what are you gonna do? She loves me. You know, she never not smiled. The other one's
favorite dogs.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like the same deal. The two little dogs are just running around like crazy and they never stop. And my lab's always just at my side, just hanging out like, hey, Dad, you're awesome.
Yeah.
He gives me a confidence boost. You know what I mean? The other two dogs don't give a shit about me, but that lab loves me.
I think a cocker would go home with anybody.
There's no doubt.
Other than getting hit by a car, if they got lost and somebody said, boom, okay, I'm yours today. That dog loves everybody. You always think it loves me more. No. If it was out right now, it would be on your lap or the next chair.
Yeah.
Anybody to pet me. And then other dogs are just like, yeah, I'm yours.
The last 2 hunts I've been on, I've been out with buddies that have cockers, and I've seen two of the most amazing pieces of dog work out of those things.
Who are you out with?
My buddy Steve Rodock up in the UP.
Uh-huh.
He's a pretty well known amateur field trial, but he's mostly a bird hunter. He'd be offended if you called him a field trial.
Right. But he does that in the off season.
He does for sure. And we were out rough grouse hunting, and this dog, he saw it catch his track, and it hit this grouse. I mean, and he damn near caught that grouse. I mean, just watching that dog come up and freaking just that grouse explode. And unfortunately for my buddy, he was too close to the dog, so he couldn't shoot the damn bird. I mean, a great look at him, but by the time the bird cleared, he was shooting, a long ways out, and he missed that one. And then a week ago, we were out in Oklahoma, and we saw a covey of, I saw one blue quail run across the road. I'm like, my buddy Mike, he's got a little cocker. Mike, get Roxy out.
Yeah.
And we go down there, and we're walking down this draw, and that dog gets hot, and you see it just catch the line, and you just see it like, and Mike's son Nate says, "She's got him," and that dog was just hauling ass down this line, and we were like, get moving, and we're just like literally just running with this dog, and she just blew up this covey, and it must have been 40 blue quail in this covey. It was awesome.
Oh, nice. Nice.
It's just, I mean, they're just so much fun to watch. I mean, there's something about walking up on a dog that's on point, 100 yards away, but watching those little cockers
because it's always up front,
it's right in your face.
Right in your face.
It's a very personal experience for sure.
I really enjoy the southern, quail thing in Georgia and Florida, where you got the pointed bird that holds, and you've got your cocker at heel, and then you send your flusher in, and I've really enjoyed that a lot. And that's something that I hadn't really done before I moved down here and started doing that. That whole system of the pointed bird and the fleshing bird that, we don't use as much up north, but we use a lot down here in the South is a riot. It's so much fun.
You got to be you got to have a dog well trained for that. You know,
it's a whole nother deal. There's no doubt about it.
I can do it with Bravo because he doesn't care anymore if Taffy's out there, but other dogs, if they're not used to somebody, to a pointing dog, that dog is stealing their point.
Yeah. I mean, I can do
100%.
My buddy Steve, I run my dog, my setter, Libby, and my old pointer, Maddie, with his flushing dogs.
They don't care.
They're fine.
Right.
I tell you what, it's a great way to kill birds.
Don't run it with your young pup.
No.
She's already learned.
She already likes doing that. She'll point all day long, but if she sees him, it's game on.
Yeah, right.
In which, you want that kind of in a 14, 15-month-old. I mean, you want that drive, But,
you just like the point to be longer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, if the bird's sitting there, or if it's in a thicket or something like that, she'll point out.
Woodcock, it's never going to happen.
Right.
They're just not going to see them.
Right.
And grouse rarely.
Yeah.
Because of the distance they're smelling it and the cover you're in. But I've seen dogs that, they just can't handle.
Oh.
And I've seen them in judging them where I'll be like first 2 or 3 bird contacts, and it's just there's dogs that are fidgety, like, but they're not moving, but they're almost coming out of the cannon. And there's dogs that are just like, and they watch that bird get shot, and they wait for the guy to come up and tap. And then we go around a corner, because we use these stupid chucker. There'd be a chucker just walking down the road. Zoom! It's like, oops.
Yep.
If it comes through my nose, I know what to do. If I see it, I can't help it. I can't help it. So how was? I didn't get to ask you about Oklahoma.
It was really tough. I mean, we enough birds. The cubbies were good sizes, but I mean, it was just super dry. They haven't had any moisture out there in 2 months, and if you've never hunted out west, especially this area that we hunt in Oklahoma gets like 13 to 17 inches of rain a year.
Yeah.
I mean, so, and it's just, I mean, you'll have one day, and I can't explain, I don't know what it is, but you'll have one day, it seems like, perfect setting conditions, and dogs don't find any birds, or,
Right.
there's an hour that they find birds. Next day you think, oh, it's gonna be terrible today, and the dogs just find every bird that's out there.
Yeah.
Like last year, I wasn't out there for the end of the season trip, and the guys, one day they had 13 covey finds. The next day they had one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah. Then you got to be thinking, what am I doing wrong?
right. And it's just, I mean, it's the most difficult, and especially I think, it's difficult for our dogs that come here from the Midwest, where it's, we've always got pretty good humidity.
Right.
We're going to an area that, I mean, we'll have days where it's, it starts out at 40% humidity, and by the end of the day, it's like 10, 15% humidity in there. So it's just, I mean, you just feel it in your mouth. It's just dry.
Lips get cracked and everything. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, Nick, what's it going to take to get you and me and Brent swinging a shotgun in the same spot? Now, you got to do it with Brent. I got to do it with Brent. Let's Manny Mo and Jack here.
You know what we need to do is we need to get you guys down here to the South.
There you go.
And do a late season thing down here, maybe in Georgia or Florida, like I said, and where we can bring the cockers and really play with those cockers. It would be a lot of fun.
Well, I think you've got the connections, obviously.
I do.
And I'm gonna hold them to that.
I'd love to do it. I'm always open for any bird hunt. You name it, I'm there. I love bird hunting.
I love it when somebody else has the place. Like, I don't have to do the hoof work. I just get to show up and say, hi, how you doing?
Yep.
When are we stopping and when are we starting?
Yep.
That's it.
When do we start drinking?
And when do we start drinking? Yeah, it's a good thing this was a morning podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm drinking seltzer, not beer. That says a lot about.
Yeah,
that says a lot about you. A lot of things.
Yeah. I had a 4-hour Zoom room with my patrons last night. I set it for 2 hours. It usually goes into 3, and I got in the house at midnight last night, and it was a little tough. I had there was beer cans this whole entire corner. My cooler's there. I spin. I go. I stand up. I go over here and squirt bucket. Everybody keep talking. I sit out in this whole corner. I was like, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. No wonder I feel like shit.
My God.
Yeah, it was a little rough. Rough.
That's great.
Not last question, but almost last question. Did Brent make you wear Pike gear when you were up there in Newfoundland?
He didn't make me wear Pike gear. I like the Pike gear, although it's like you kind of get shamed into. I felt like I was at a bachelorette party where everybody had the same T-shirt on, and we see it a lot here in Nashville. Like everyone has the same exact T-shirt on, says something really stupid on it. You know what I mean? And then there's always the one person who's like, I ain't gonna wear the T-shirt, man. And then you end up wearing the T-shirt. That was kind of what I felt like. I felt peer pressured into I had to be totally clad in the stuff. You know what I mean? So,
head to toe Pike.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was after all his idea. That's the least I could do.
You don't want to get shot wearing camouflage,
Yeah, he brought me out there. The least I could do is wear some of that stuff.
Well, that's pretty cool.
I love it.
Are you like touring, or are you just recording now? What are you doing on the music side of things?
I'm out playing some shows, but I have a brand new album that's coming out probably early February, and I've had it done almost for 2 years now, almost done. And I just pulled the plug on it during COVID because, as you know, the music business, I mean, has been hit as hard as any industry during COVID. I mean, because the spigot wasn't trickling; it just got shut off.
Right.
I mean, and so there was no touring, no shows, nothing like that. And my bread and butter is I like to get on stage. I'm a performer. I'm a consider myself a quote unquote live act, like we'd say. So and so for me, putting out new music means going out and playing it for people. And so I just held on to that record until it's time. Now, finally, touring's opening up again. Shows are starting to go. So I'm excited to finally put out the record in the, early spring, late, probably early February. And then this next summer I'll be hitting the road touring. I can't wait.
Tours in Michigan?
That's what I was going to say.
Any stops in Michigan?
Yeah, I'm sure we'll end up in Michigan.
Nice.
For sure.
Or at least close enough for us to go.
Yeah. Even Chicago or Indy, we could do that.
Fort Wayne, anything. Yeah.
Absolutely. We'll do it. So you guys, I'll give you the Ticketmaster link and you can buy some fucking tickets.
We would buy some fucking tickets.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. You know a guy and I'll give you some tickets.
You would. I wouldn't.
Yeah, Ron's cheaper than you.
Right. If I could,
I believe in supporting friends like that. I got no problem buying them.
You haven't bought the Upland Institute yet.
I don't need it. I pay for Justin.
You pay for it in the long haul.
Yeah.
All right.
No, I'm excited about the new music.
Oh yeah, because I'd love to see it. And I am so. You got any musical talent?
Oh, zero.
Like me either. Like couldn't carry a tune in a bucket.
No,
I would spill it.
I would spill it, and I don't even know what I'm carrying.
I absolutely love listening to it.
I love listening to music too.
And I've always been like for some reason, not a big rock guy, but always been a bluegrass. For some reason, bluegrass. So if there's a fiddle in it, yeah, it feels like it hits me. I don't know why. There we go. Well, that was the boom.
Not your first time.
That thing's so out of tune too.
Okay, the other stuff sounded better. That was the only show I've ever done with a musical finish.
That was cool.
That was it. All right, we're off recording now. Perfect.
Cool.